felt selfish when I would first write songs, that no one could understand them because it was from my point of view. But I realized as I get older that a lot of people go through the same things. And so for me to feel selfish over writing this one song will actually make sense to another person and to another person. Music is a big just wave of sharing feelings and emotions that we all have, and it's a way to cope and listen and agree and understand and learn.
Do you get that kind of feedback from your audience?
Definitely.
What do they say?
Well, for one song in particular, called The Roses, it's a song about death, and everyone in life loses someone. And how do you cope with that? And how are you reminded of that person? Everyone is reminded through their own way. For me, it was, I think of my grandmother through roses. And so that's one song in particular that just transcends. It never actually grows old. It's timeless because people lose people every day. And so I'll often get, thank you so much for writing that song. You know, I cried to it today. Or, you know, not that I'm out to make people cry, but just it's something that people can hold on to and like relate to. And that's a big power of music.
I think it's parallel as art. You go to a museum and you see the art on the wall and you see something entirely different than the person standing next to you. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you have those kind of experiences where the power of the emotion helps touch another person's life in a different way, and perhaps you wrote it with that in mind.
Yeah. There are some songs that I do write with things in mind.
Mm-hmm. You have any examples?
Like the song Happier Side. I was kind of frustrated when I wrote that song about, I live in South Buffalo, and I just noticed the neighborhood go through this change, and I was like so angry. How did we let it get to this point? How did we let it to be that kids are selling drugs on the corner, and I mean kids, and how children are having children, and so I just kind of just got really frustrated, and some people maybe don't think of these things, especially at my age. I was younger when I wrote this, and I kind of wanted to bring that to their eyes, like, why is this happening? So I wrote that with that in mind.
You sound mature beyond your years when you talk about what you put into your music and your understanding of it. There's a lot of introspection I hear coming across in how you've crafted your career path from very early on to really giving a lot of thought and meaning to what you put in your words. Is that naturally you, or did that come as part of the Music in Action learning process?
I really think that came from Music in Action, because I mean the first task was write this song with a meaning, an actual message, and not so. And I'm not dissing what's on Kiss 98.5, but something that means something, and not just, hey yo, let's go to the club. You know, let's say something that came from somewhere that can actually change someone's point of view, and that was what Music in Action taught us as artists. And so I thank them for giving me that kind of piece of advice that early, because I really think that that's where that came from, and that's why I continue to write songs that like have a message that someone else can use or understand.
Would it be fair to say that's your philosophy or your mission of your own music? Have you ever thought of what is it I'm doing and what do I want to achieve with it?
Yeah, I'm changing as an artist, because I do write songs with messages, but sometimes songs don't have to mean anything, but they just have to sound good or bring across this feeling. So, you know, I have these really goofy songs that don't mean anything, but the way the instruments play together and just the mood that it creates, it really...
After all, it is entertainment.
Yeah,
it's
and
a form of entertainment.
It's feel-good entertainment, and so it doesn't always have to be so serious. And so this next album that is coming out, I kind of have that in mind, where there are some fun songs, there are some serious songs, there are some just whatever they are, pieces of art that came out that I'm not going to not put on there, you know.
No, that's great. Now you're playing with other people. You've been on the road, you've done tour dates, you're part of a band, you work with other people. Talk about that if you would.
Well, touring is very fun. gone on a few tours with groups, one being Left on Red, an acoustic rock duo based out of New York City. Great friends of mine. We've got to know each other in a mini Dodge Caravan, traveling, to New York City.
That's pretty intimate.
Oh yeah, Bob James is the van driver.
Okay, he's good at that.
Security guard, but
yeah.
So we played New York City, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, Utica. Traveling in a van with someone, you really get to know them.
Who are the other members of that group?
It's just those two.
Just those two?
Yep,
Okay.
Leah and Kelly of Left on Red. Just great people. Sharing a stage with them has been amazing. And the most important thing about going on these tours is going on them with a message. Our message with Leah and Kelly, Left on Red, was about fair trade. We called it the Chocolate Revolution Tour. So we would go out in October and February, which is Halloween and Valentine's Day, to promote fair trade. Because people don't know it, but in certain chocolates we eat, it has come from little children being smuggled across the Ivory Coast of Africa and put to work for free in these harsh conditions to create this chocolate that we eat. So unless it's fair trade, and not a lot of people know this, so we went out on tour with this message. We're going to play our music, bring people together, and share this. So that was one tour, and we've gone on two with Left on Red. And the other was with Pete Moreau's acoustic, awesome guy.
Oh yeah, I know Pete. He's great.
He has the voice of an angel, and he's from Nashville, Tennessee. He just put out his new album called We'll Rise Above.
I know, I got a copy of it. I was so impressed.
Yeah, you can visit PeteMorose.com to check it out. And he's just a great guy, such a great heart. His music is real, as we were saying, feel good energy. And he has the same belief that music should be used for something bigger. And so we hit the road with our tour being based around tunes for food. So we played, I can't even remember sometimes because we don't get enough sleep, but West Virginia, Buffalo, Rochester, Cincinnati, Athens, Ohio. So we went out and we, again, brought people together with this message that people shouldn't go to bed hungry and that these food banks need more money and they need more food to help people in need. And so that was our message for that tour. So every tour we go on, we try and use it as something bigger than just getting up there playing, look at me, and then getting down,
I'm Tom McNulty. We're at GCR Audio Studios in Buffalo, New York, and we're talking with Grace Stumberg about music in action and her own career path. With everything that you've experienced, what you know, what you've done, where do you see yourself going? I hear in the last segment you talking about blending music and social causes, how do you balance that? And how do you contribute to the social cause but yet stay in touch with how your career is advancing so that you can continue to influence causes and be heard by larger audiences?
I feel like it's a very conscious effort in order to keep putting on shows and raising money for certain organizations that need it. You have to want to do that. And so many bands can forget about that and maybe, or not even think about it, get signed to Columbia Records and rock out for millions of screaming teenage fans,
But how do you pick free trade as a theme? That's kind of interesting.
Because you want to, and because you want to use your music as a way to make a change.
And do people tell you that after a performance, that they admire you or they ask you questions, why free trade?
Some people say thank you for giving me the chance today to make a change, because so many people go to work every day and they come home to their families, and sometimes they don't necessarily have the time to put into that. But if you give them the chance to say, hey, if you come down tonight for $3 and you hear some great music and hang out with all these people, that $3 will go to benefit the food bank, and you've done something really positive today.
I'm realizing, Grace, we could have done this interview in the 1960s. I'm not kidding you, when a lot of social causes, and there were so many civil movements, civil rights movements, war issues, poverty, racism, there were so many causes that musicians did step up, and you have opportunities to learn from some of their experiences and their passion, and what it did for their career, but also in some cases what it may have cost in their career. Your thoughts, your comments on that?
Well, I look at, and I'm comparing artists from Buffalo, New York. You hear about two in this area. You hear about Ani DeFranco,
right,
and you hear about the Goo Goo Dolls.
Right.
And you constantly hear people bicker or appraise each one of those bands and kind of their story. But Ani DeFranco did it by playing 24/7, traveling 24/7, playing shows, writing songs about stuff that no people had ever written songs about, and sometimes songs that people didn't even want to hear because they were so intense, but others wanted to hear those songs because no one else was talking about these things. And she built her own career and her own foundation. She never, quote-unquote, sold out.
Sold out, right.
And made the big bucks, and her songs weren't all over the radio, and she wasn't on the cover of magazines, and because she wanted to be shiny, or she really had her career and what she wanted to be became. She has her own record label, in Buffalo, New York, that now is signing other artists and such, and she is able to walk down the street for the most part and have people just kind of walk right by her, because she's maintained that under the radar but still very successful kind of artist, and she still plays, but she's able to have a family and such like that. And then some people will say, look at the Goo Goo Dolls, they're successful because they went out there in the van and made it happen, and they played Disney, they're just Hollywood records, kind of big name all over the radio, on TV, on magazines, that's what success is. So you kind of have two different ends of the spectrum.
But in both cases, you talk about an individual performer and a band that have stood the test of time when others are a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
Because they were, as many people say, one-hit wonders. Their passion did not come across, the meaning in their songs didn't come across, or you couldn't understand what they were saying.
Yeah.
And you're talking about two artists.
Both of these artists, because so many people will say one over the other, but both of these groups have also, in the end, brought back something home. And, Babeville and GCR, both of these awesome studios and places where you can come as a musician and make music in your own town and be able to share it and learn from these great artists. And so it's very nice to say that, we come from Buffalo, New York, and
yeah.
We are musicians.
When you were sitting in class in 10th grade, you probably never imagined that you'd be sitting here.
Never.
Doing what you're doing.
Never. The first time I met Robbie, I was like, oh my God.
Starstruck.
It's the bass player of the Goo Goo Dolls, and, and he had these cool orange sunglasses on, and I'm like, why is my hair is probably too long, and my song probably stinks.
Yeah.
And
he's just a regular Buffalo guy.
And he's just a great guy.
Yeah. Do you find yourself modeling your own career path after people who have that balance of good, solid music, good inspirational songs, but also a passion to give back?
Definitely.
Good for you.
I like to give back by, sometimes I'll go to open mics and I'll see these young kids get up there and, I wrote this
Scared
song,
to death.
and,
yeah.
It's not really that good, and, I'm just going to play it for you, and they get up there and they play it, and I'll say, that was really good. I know this other place that you should play, and so
So you find yourself guiding them already.
I'm giving songwriting workshops and talking about music and music in action now. Now I'm a teaching artist where I get to go in and kind of do what was done to me, and mold someone's future, and it's a really great feeling, and I'll always give back, I feel
That's
like
the nice
necessary.
thing I find too about music in action is it does set the stage for people who take it seriously enough to become accomplished, have some level of success, to come back and help other students, much like yourself, who have the fear and anxiety, and yet they have the passion and dream but you can shape them and you can be an example
Yeah.
of how to do it. Where does your own career take you now, Grace? Where are you
Well,
going? Where are you headed?
Let me just say, it has not been an easy ride by far, especially now. I'm faced with putting out a second album. Gotta put that second album out, you know, and I've got this opportunity to raise money for this album through this program called Kickstarter. And what it is fans can actually contribute to the second album. They can kind of buy a share in it by donating money and receiving a signed copy with a t-shirt and a...
I've seen that on the internet.
Yeah, so that's kind of stressful to be able to raise this. We're trying to raise at least $4,000 to cover recording costs and manufacturing and all of these things, so it's kind of nerve-wracking.
But I sense, based on what we've talked about so far, you're doing that with a lot of support around you. You're not on your own. You're getting marketing advice. You're getting strategic planning advice. You're getting distribution advice. You're getting a lot of support to make sure that you have a better shot at success than
and we have a lot
others.
Of friends and family that really love the music and believe in it. And so at the same time, we're trying to focus on this Kickstarter and working on the album. I've got this opportunity to work with Joan Baez in the UK.
Now you're talking.
So now...
That's a quantum leap.
I'm trying to work on this and also prepare for leaving to go to another country and kind of shed who I am to be with Joan and be her assistant and her guitar tech. So I'm kind of faced with this.
See, I told you it would come back to the 60s.
Yeah, it's a stressful time, but you know, when you are stressed, you have to do what you have to do because in the end, it's all about the music.
What do you want to learn from Joan? If you could write the script of what you want to learn from Joan Baez, who, like we've said, has stood the test of time. She's one of those surviving musicians over many, many decades who still is very passionate about causes. So much like yourself, it sounds like you have a golden opportunity to really learn from one of the best. What do you want to learn?
I think I would like to learn, which I've done a lot of research on her, but I'd like to hear it from her, just kind of what she views her music as, and maybe, you know, if we ever get to chatting about this stuff, just what inspired her to write certain songs and why she kept doing it and why she's still doing it and what her beliefs about music are. So I'm kind of really intrigued about learning about her as an artist and what her views are, and kind of maybe ask her what advice would she give to anyone that wants to follow in her footsteps, you know, but never step on her toes or ask her any questions that she wouldn't want to be asked. But I'm really excited, you know, and hoping that maybe we would get to have these conversations.
I think you might be surprised at just how genuine she can be and has been. You can't be a phony in this business and last as long as she has. Well, people don't tolerate that. Think about it. No one's interested in somebody whose ego is so big that they don't give a little part of themselves back. And you have an opportunity to really walk in her shadows and learn from that. And I suspect, when the time is right, to come back to music in action and talk about a whole new experience as a result of this.
Yes, I'm very excited to go and do this, and I'm excited to be able to, you know, be her right-hand gal and give Joan everything that she needs, and, you know, make sure that she has everything she needs. It's really a nice feeling to be a part of, and I'm really excited. And I don't know what I'm going to see or what I will learn, but...
Well, you're going to be in a bigger classroom, I suspect.
Oh, yes.
A much bigger classroom where you will learn so much more, but a lot of what you've gained from music in action is going to crystallize and make a lot more sense to you when you see it on a much larger stage and a much larger platform with someone who has a global recognition still today. So you're very fortunate. You're a very lucky young lady. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share on your experience and what you would say to budding future superstars?
I'd like to say maybe 2 or 3 things. Number 1, don't give up. Get out there and play. Get out there and practice. Never stop writing. And if you really want to truly make a living at music, you know, you have to want it and you have to do it. And That's going to mean going through a lot of stuff. But because you want it, you'll do it. So just never give up and keep playing and keep writing.
I'm Tom McNulty. We're at GCR Studios here in Buffalo, New York, and we've been talking with Grace Stumberg. Grace, I wish you nothing but tremendous success. You represent a real model of the combination of passion and cause with solid messaging in your songs and a real devotion to a career in music. So I wish you nothing but the best. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Good.
Good? Did I cover your key points?
Yeah.
Did I say music and action enough?
You know, the funny thing is,